and welcome to this edition of iLuminate eZine. We're glad that you decided to watch this video as we focus on this issue of not having to be afraid no matter what we go through, because God is there. And that as long as we're walking hand in hand with Him, that the fire that we go through, the storms of life that we go through, that it's possible to get through them and even have a little bit of peace along the way. And as the more we get to know God, the more peace that we have. In this particular video, I am pleased to be joined with Miss Caroline. Miss Caroline and her mother, Miss Andrea, welcome to iLuminate. How are y'all doing?
Good. Great.
Very good. Now, you guys are joining us from Tennessee tonight, right? As I record this, it's at night. Those of you who are watching it may not be watching it at night, but it's at night. Miss Caroline, let me ask you a question. How old are you right now?
I am 11, about to turn 12.
12, like really quick, right? Within a few
Yes,
days. That's what I understand. Going to go for that big iPhone? Is that what we're going for?
No.
Oh, no iPhone. Okay. I thought I'd throw you a plug in there with your mom sitting right beside you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome, Andrea. That's right. I tell you why I wanted to have you guys on and include you in this particular issue. And obviously you already know, but for those who are watching this video, they don't know. And so, Caroline, you know, the big deal is you have recently gone through a major journey. I don't know how else to say that, but a major journey with cancer. And as we look at this issue of not having to be afraid and the things that we might learn and sometimes how the struggles we go through, I'd like for you to help us understand from a young person's perspective what it really looks like to go through a valley and to go through a journey like this and come out on the other side. So let me ask you this. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, when you found out you had cancer. If you want to talk about what kind of cancer it was, that would be okay too. But just explain a little bit to us, what was it like being a young person finding out you had cancer?
Well, it was in September on the 25th, right?
It was the 14th,
14th.
2012.
Yeah. When I found out, I was really cool. I'm like, so what? So what? What's the big deal? And then Mom and Dad are making a big deal out of it, and I'm like, what does that mean? What does it mean? And then a few days later, I found out what it meant, and I was still a little chill, like, okay, I did surgery, that's it. And it came more and more, and I'm like, okay, this is not cool anymore. This is not cool.
Yeah. You found out how many years ago, did you say? 2?
2?
It was 2012. So at the time of this video, it's been about 16 months.
Yeah. And of course, Andrea, I mean, obviously, to see your child go through that was I can only imagine. I mean, we know each other's family, so you know that Aaron and I have 4 children. I can only imagine the ton of bricks that would have just crushed me. What was it like going through that as a parent?
Well, it's very challenging, to say the least. We found out very suddenly. She just had headaches and nausea, and we took her in and we thought, well, she's got migraines. The doctor said, let's just do a scan. Let's just rule this out. And so we thought, okay, let's rule it out. Let's do that. And then we can treat her for migraines. So when we went in, it was completely by surprise. We had no idea what we were walking into. They did the MRI at 5 o'clock on a Friday on September the 14th of 2012. And the technician did a scan. And then whenever he got finished with the scan, he called the radiologist in, and the radiologist called the doctor immediately and said, and they said, Miss Darden, there's a phone call for you, and it's from a doctor. And I thought, well, this can't be good.
Yeah.
You just get a scan and you think you're going to find out a week later what the results are, and we found out within 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So the doctor on the phone said, your daughter has a very large mass at the base of her brain. and you need to take her immediately to the hospital. She needs to see a neurosurgeon. So in our minds, the very next day was, brain surgery.
Right.
So that, so you're hit with that all of a sudden, and that's what you have to deal with is, all the doctors, and you got to pack, and they said, be prepared to stay. And I was working, and so you think that was my last day at work. I can't go back. Who's going to take care of her? So you start balancing in your mind the job side of it, the financial side of it, and then aside from all of that, you balance what's going to happen to my child. Right. So because you don't know, at the time you think brain surgery, and you don't know how it's going to turn out ever. So it was definitely a long night, and then several nights while she was in ICU and going through a craniotomy.
It changed your world. I mean, that's what I'm hearing from you both is, here you are going through life, just doing your thing, right? And all of a sudden, boom, things change very quickly. You realize, and you had to, maybe reflecting back now, you realize that, we make all these plans in our life, but, it's one of those things, are we ultimately in control of everything that happens? And it really shocked you, rocked your world. Caroline, let me ask you this. You go from a normal, at that time, almost 10-year-old, or you were 10, right?
I was 10.
Okay. And you're doing your thing, you're in school and whatnot. What all changes took place in your life? Surely, for those who might be watching this, they might say, okay, she has cancer, she fought it, the difficult, but what happened? What changes happened? I don't know if we understand the bigness of this, if that's even a word, but what changes took place in your life?
A lot of washing hands and hand sanitizer. Every time I came home, she's like, okay, you gotta do hand sanitizer. Okay, you gotta wash your hands. And I'm like, when is this gonna end? When is this gonna end?
No more stuff.
And I couldn't do any sports. Some of the games I played, I couldn't play because they involved running. Mm-hmm. And
she played softball actually the Thursday night before she had her scan on Friday. So she had just played in a softball game.
Wow.
On a game on Thursday night, and then she had the scan Friday, and we went into the hospital that Saturday. So
but you quit going to, you couldn't go to school, or did you keep going to school?
I wasn't going to school, but I had homebound.
Yes. And
it was really fun because it wasn't that long.
She had a homebound teacher that came to the house, and she came twice a week.
Sometimes once a week.
And she would drop assignments off and then pick them up. And so Caroline had to work when the time was available. So sometimes she worked on Saturdays or Sundays because she was at the hospital on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. But that way she could work and do the work around her own schedule.
So it changed your routine. It changed your recreational side of things. You had to be ultra sensitive to germs, and got to support the hand sanitizer company for a time.
We talked about church too, that we couldn't go to church. We would go to church all the time, and so it was very strange for us to not go to church because she was so sick. So she got to missing her friends.
Mm-hmm.
Got to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Mom and Dad and Logan. That's not fun at all.
For those of you who wonder, Logan's her brother. Little brother at that, though, right? Don't ever let him forget that. That's right.
Yeah, don't forget that.
That's the serious stuff. Well, let me ask you this. Once you found out you had cancer, obviously you went to the hospital. You just described that. But you went through quite a few treatments and different procedures. We kept up with you on Facebook, but obviously for those who may be watching this that never knew Caroline before this video, what journey did you go through? Describe some of that. What were some of the treatments, some of the highs, some of the lows? Maybe you had some good reports that really got your spirits up. Then you had those moments of, do I have to do one more treatment? Describe that journey of walking as a person who has cancer.
That part I cannot describe, but
Wow.
it's hard to describe.
Because it hurts.
No, not much.
You want
Because
me to
I
tell
don't
them?
remember
Do
some
you
of
want me to
them
tell?
too.
The day that we went into the hospital was a Saturday, and she did she had brain surgery on the Tuesday after that. The neurosurgeon and all of his team met with us and did pictures of her brain on the Sunday after we got to the hospital, and they made a plan for what they were going to do to remove the mass, because it was about 4.2 centimeters large at the base of her brain. Her diagnosis was medulloblastoma, and so the cancer, they didn't know what they would find out whenever they got in there. So they did surgery on Tuesday, and the surgery it took 10 hours to do the surgery. And she came out from the surgery, and then she actually had some complications after the surgery where she has stitches in the back of her head, and they started leaking spinal fluid. So that was another trip back into the hospital. So we stayed a couple of days while they had to sew her back up in the back of her head. And then when that didn't work and it was still leaking, they decided that they needed to put in a shunt.
That was the funniest time.
So they had to do a shunt, and so that was another surgery. So that was another low, because we thought, the fluid's not going to drain on its own. So now she has to do surgery to drain the fluid. So we did that, and then she had to recover from that, because they said that they had to start. She had chemo treatments and radiation at the same time, because they said they had to start it soon, or the cells in her brain would start regrowing. So the sooner they started, the sooner they could get rid of those cells that were cancerous. So they wanted to start as soon as possible, as soon as she recovered from her surgery. So as soon as she was strong enough, just when you're feeling better and thinking everything's going to be okay, then she started chemo and radiation at the same time. So we went in every day, Monday through Friday, to a hospital that is about 45 minutes from our house. And we went every day for the next 4 weeks. It was 30 days, Monday through Friday. And she did chemo once a week, and she did radiation every day. So when they finished with her radiation treatments, she was not able to eat anymore, because the treatments made her taste buds where she couldn't taste anything. You can jump in anytime you think of something. so she couldn't eat anything, so we had to put in a feeding tube.
Oh yeah, now I remember that. The feeding tube was very hard, because it would be attached here and go through my nose and go down my throat, and it was pretty hard to keep down, and everything that I ate, I would always feel that tube in the back of my throat, and I'm like, I don't like that, and I would say, I'm not going to eat anymore, because I didn't want to feel that thing on the back of my throat. And it would be really hard whenever I took a medicine I don't like, because whenever I get nauseous, then the tube would come up, and it would be hard to put it back down, especially for Mom. Mom said, take water, and I'm just going to put it down. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this.
It was really, that was a really low, that was hard for us. That was over Christmas of last year, because she finished her last radiation treatment at the end of November, about 4 days after Thanksgiving last year. So she finished her radiation treatments, but just as you think you're excited and happy and on top of the world, like, whoo, we're finished.
All of a sudden you go back down.
Suddenly she had this feeding tube in, which caused her a lot of nausea and a lot of, it was hard because, a lot of problems. So we dealt with that, and we got past that point, and then we got through December, and then January the 2nd, we had to start back. She had to do what were called maintenance chemo treatments, and she had to go back once a week. Every Wednesday, we had to go back to the hospital. for the rest of that year. So she had cycles of treatment that she would do with chemotherapy, where we went in every single Wednesday. They either checked her blood, or they had to give a chemo treatment, or both that day. So they were constantly monitoring how she was doing. So we finished that. We did that every day the whole year. So, and she had to be hospitalized for some of the chemo treatments, and some of them she could do kind of as an outpatient. We would go into the clinic. So again, you think, everything's going great. We're back into a level routine, and then something would happen where she would have a reaction to a medicine, or she started having something called neuropathy in her feet. So her feet started hurting very badly. And so she had to deal with the pain of the feet because it was a reaction to the chemo.
Hi. As you noticed, the interview was cut short for technical reasons, but at one point in time in the interview, Caroline needed to take a break because just recounting all the difficulties and the struggles that she went through was emotionally boiling in her. And so we took a break from the interview, but because of technical difficulties, we were never able to come back and fully finish it. But I will tell you this, that one of the things that they did say after we returned and continued to talk was that they learned a very valuable lesson, and that is that we aren't promised that we're going to be around on this earth for a long time. As a matter of fact, they would even look at Scripture, and this is what Miss Andrea said, that the idea is that there were individuals that had children and individuals that had children, but one thing was consistent within the Scriptures are that those individuals within those lines of genealogy and lineage, that those individuals would die. And the reality is we're all going to die. And so one of the very valuable lessons that Caroline and her family has learned from this journey is that you're supposed to face today, and whatever today brings, just rejoice that you have today. Regardless if it's good or if it's bad, trust God with today and don't worry about tomorrow, because you're not sure that you're going to have tomorrow. You're not guaranteed that you're going to have tomorrow. But what a blessing it is to interview such a strong young lady, a strong woman who went through so much and has other steps in this journey to go. But I wanted you to see the truth of one young lady who's continually putting her trust in God. And I pray that it was somewhat of an encouragement to you that if Caroline can go through this and that she doesn't have to fear and she can put her trust in God, that whatever you're going through, that you can also put your trust in God. I want to say thank you to Darren Dickerson for supplying the images for this video and for this spread. And I also want to thank Caroline and her mother, Andrea, for spending some time with us. And I hope you've enjoyed this interview.